Have you ever wondered why respect seems to fade in some relationships? Maybe everything starts out great, but over time, things shift. Conversations feel strained, connections weaken, and you start to sense that the respect you once had isn't the same. It's a tough realization, but here's the thing, respect isn't lost overnight. It's the result of subtle, often unnoticed behaviors that build up over time. In this video, we're going to talk about 9 common mistakes men make that can slowly chip away at respect in a relationship. These aren't just surface-level issues. They're rooted in habits, mindsets, and actions that can have a profound impact on how you're perceived. More importantly, we'll explore how Stoic principles can help you avoid these pitfalls and build stronger, more fulfilling relationships. Before we jump in, take a moment to hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow and reach more people who need this kind of insight. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe and tap that notification bell so you don't miss any future content about Stoicism and personal growth. And as we go along, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. This isn't about judgment, it's about awareness and improvement. So, let's get into it and take a closer look at the small, often overlooked mistakes that could be costing you the respect you deserve. Mistake number 1, being too needy. Have you ever found yourself waiting anxiously for a text back, checking your phone every 5 minutes and wondering why they haven't responded? Maybe you send another message, and then another, hoping for some reassurance. It's a familiar feeling for many, but here's the harsh truth. This kind of behavior often comes across as being too needy, and over time, it can erode respect in a relationship. Being too needy isn't about caring for someone or wanting to spend time with them. It's about relying on them to constantly validate your worth. When you put someone else in charge of your happiness, you unknowingly hand them control over how you feel. That's a lot of pressure to place on another person, and it's one of the quickest ways to push someone away. Needy behavior doesn't just drain the other person. It also makes you seem insecure, dependent, and unable to stand on your own. Think about it. Would you respect someone who seems to crumble without constant reassurance? Respect grows from confidence and strength, and when you show that you can't find stability within yourself, it makes it harder for others to see you as someone they can admire. So, how do you move away from neediness? This is where Stoic principles come into play. The Stoics believed that true happiness comes from within. It's not something that can be given or taken away by someone else. Marcus Aurelius said it best. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This means learning to separate your self-worth from external factors. Instead of seeking constant validation, focus on building inner confidence. Start by spending time alone, pursuing your passions, and developing skills that make you feel capable and proud of yourself. When you shift your energy toward growth and self-improvement, you'll notice something amazing. You become less dependent on others for validation. Here's an example. Instead of over-texting someone when you're feeling unsure, take a step back and ask yourself why you're reaching out. Are you genuinely looking to connect, or are you trying to ease your own insecurity? If it's the latter, pause and redirect that energy. Go for a walk, read something inspiring, or work on a project that excites you. These small shifts in focus help you regain control of your emotions and show others that you're confident and independent. This change doesn't just impact how others see you, it changes how you see yourself. When you stop relying on external validation, you begin to value your own opinion more. You start to realize that your worth isn't determined by someone else's attention or approval. That's where true strength lies, and it's a quality that naturally earns respect. Of course, this isn't about becoming distant or detached. Healthy relationships thrive on communication and connection, but there's a big difference between sharing your feelings and depending on someone else to manage them for you. A Stoic mindset teaches us to take responsibility for our own emotions and to approach relationships from a place of strength, not neediness. If you've ever felt like you might be coming across as too needy, don't be hard on yourself. Awareness is the first step toward change, and the fact that you're reflecting on this shows that you're ready to grow. Remember, building confidence and self-sufficiency takes time, but every small step you take brings you closer to being the kind of person who naturally commands respect. Does this sound familiar? Let's move on to the next mistake, one that might be just as common but often goes unnoticed. Mistake number 2. Lack of purpose. Imagine being in a relationship where one person makes the other their entire world. At first, it might feel flattering, someone who's always available, who prioritizes you above everything else. But over time, that constant attention starts to feel heavy. When someone neglects their goals, ambitions, and personal growth just to focus entirely on a relationship, it can lead to a sense of imbalance. Respect doesn't thrive in an environment where one person seems aimless, relying solely on the other for fulfillment. Lack of purpose doesn't just affect how others see you, it affects how you see yourself. When you don't have a clear direction in life, it's easy to fall into patterns of insecurity or stagnation. You might find yourself feeling lost, wondering why things aren't working out, or why there's a growing disconnect in your relationship. Without purpose, there's nothing for your partner to admire or be inspired by, and over time, that can erode respect. Think about this. A relationship isn't meant to replace your identity, it's meant to complement it. When you bring a sense of ambition and direction to the table, you not only strengthen your own sense of self-worth, but you also create a dynamic where respect and admiration can grow. This is where Stoicism offers valuable guidance. The Stoics believed that living with purpose is central to a meaningful life. Seneca once said, "If one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable." In other words, without a clear goal or direction, you'll find yourself drifting at the mercy of external circumstances rather than in control of your own destiny. To cultivate purpose, start by asking yourself, what truly matters to me? What kind of person do I want to be, and what steps can I take to get there? This isn't about having everything figured out overnight. It's about taking deliberate actions that align with your values and aspirations. Purpose doesn't have to mean some grand, life-altering mission. It can be as simple as setting small, achievable goals that give your days meaning and momentum. Let's take a practical example. Instead of spending every free moment trying to connect with your partner or worrying about the relationship, dedicate time to pursuing something you're passionate about. Whether it's advancing in your career, learning a new skill, or getting in better shape, these actions show that you're committed to growing as an individual. This shift in focus doesn't just benefit you, it also adds depth and balance to your relationship. Having purpose also means showing resilience during challenges. Life will always throw obstacles your way, and how you respond to them speaks volumes about your character. When you approach difficulties with determination and focus, it's not just empowering for you, it's inspiring to those around you. A person who remains steady and driven, even in tough times, naturally commands respect. Now, you might be wondering how to balance pursuing your purpose while still being present in your relationship. It's not about choosing one over the other. It's about integration. Share your goals and passions with your partner and encourage them to pursue their own. When two people in a relationship are driven by purpose, they support each other's growth and create a dynamic of mutual respect and admiration. If you've ever felt like you're drifting or that your relationship has become the center of your world, it's okay to take a step back and reassess. Start small. Write down one thing you've always wanted to achieve but haven't yet started. Then, commit to taking one step toward that goal. Each action you take builds momentum, and with time, you'll find that living with purpose isn't just rewarding, it's transformative. Purpose doesn't mean perfection. It's about progress, consistency, and staying true to what matters most to you. When you live with intention, you become a source of inspiration, not just for your partner, but for yourself. You cultivate a sense of pride and fulfillment that radiates outward, creating an energy that naturally attracts respect. With purpose in mind, let's dive into the next mistake you should avoid. Mistake number 3, emotional reactivity. Picture this. You've had a long day, and something small, maybe your partner forgets to call you back, triggers a wave of frustration. Before you know it, you're raising your voice or sending a message you'll probably regret later. Sound familiar? Emotional reactivity is something we've all experienced at some point. It's that knee-jerk response where emotions take the wheel, leaving rationality far behind. The problem is, reacting impulsively to small disagreements doesn't just create unnecessary conflict, it also chips away at the respect others have for you. When you're quick to anger or let emotions dictate your actions, it sends a message that you lack control. It's hard for someone to admire or trust a person who seems unpredictable or volatile. Respect comes from steadiness, from being the kind of person who can stay composed even when things get tough. Losing your temper over minor issues might feel justified in the moment, but over time, it creates a pattern that can weaken your relationships and your sense of self-respect. So, how do you break free from this cycle? The key lies in developing emotional control, a skill that Stoicism places at the very heart of its teachings. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This quote reminds us that while we can't always control what happens around us, we do have the power to control how we respond. The first step in managing emotional reactivity is to pause. When you feel your emotions rising, resist the urge to act immediately. Instead, take a deep breath and give yourself a moment to reflect. This isn't about suppressing your emotions, it's about creating space to process them before you respond. A simple technique is to count to 5 in your mind before saying or doing anything. This small pause can make a huge difference in how you handle a situation. Another Stoic practice is reframing. When something triggers you, ask yourself, how can I see this differently? Let's say someone makes a comment that irritates you. Instead of reacting with anger, try to consider their perspective. Are they having a bad day? Was their intent really to upset you? By shifting your focus, you take control of the narrative and prevent your emotions from escalating unnecessarily. It's also important to remember that emotional control doesn't mean ignoring how you feel. Acknowledge your emotions, but don't let them dictate your actions. Journaling can be a helpful tool for this. Write down what you're feeling and why. It's a way to process your emotions without letting them take over. Over time, this practice can help you identify patterns and triggers, making it easier to respond calmly in challenging moments. Building emotional resilience is another powerful way to reduce reactivity. Resilience comes from knowing that no matter what happens, you'll be okay. When you cultivate this mindset, small inconveniences or disagreements lose their power to upset you. You start to see them as fleeting moments rather than catastrophic events. The more grounded you feel in yourself, the less likely you are to be thrown off balance by external circumstances. When you consistently demonstrate emotional control, you send a message, not just to others but to yourself, that you're capable of handling life's challenges with grace. This steadiness earns respect because it shows strength. People admire those who can stay calm under pressure, and they're more likely to trust someone who responds thoughtfully rather than impulsively. If you've struggled with emotional reactivity in the past, don't be discouraged. Change doesn't happen overnight, but every effort you make to pause, reflect, and respond more calmly is a step in the right direction. Start small. The next time you feel yourself getting worked up, try taking that deep breath or reframing the situation. Over time, these practices will become second nature, and you'll notice a shift in how others perceive you and how you perceive yourself. Now let's explore another critical mistake, one that often goes unnoticed but can have a significant impact on relationships. Mistake number 4, lack of boundaries. Have you ever found yourself saying yes to things you didn't want to do, just to avoid disappointing someone? Maybe you've gone along with plans that didn't align with your priorities, stayed silent during disagreements, or avoided confrontation entirely. On the surface, it might seem like you're being accommodating or easygoing, but over time, a lack of boundaries can create a deep imbalance in any relationship. Boundaries aren't just about saying no to others, they're about saying yes to yourself. When you consistently neglect your own needs or values to please someone else, you're sending a subtle message. My time, my feelings, and my priorities don't matter as much as yours do. Over time, this dynamic can lead to frustration, resentment, and most importantly, a loss of respect. Think about it. Would you admire someone who constantly lets others walk all over them? Probably not. Boundaries are a form of self-respect, and when you don't enforce them, it's hard for others to respect you either. When you avoid setting limits, people may unintentionally take advantage of your willingness to bend, and you'll find yourself feeling undervalued or even invisible in the relationship. Setting boundaries isn't about being rigid or selfish. It's about creating a healthy balance where your needs and values are honored alongside those of the other person. It's about showing that you respect yourself enough to say, this is what I'm comfortable with, and this is what I'm not. Stoicism offers valuable wisdom here. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have to assemble your life yourself, action by action." This reminds us that we are responsible for shaping our lives and protecting our well-being step by step. To assert boundaries respectfully, the first step is clarity. Take time to reflect on what's truly important to you. What are your non-negotiables? What behaviors or situations make you uncomfortable? When you're clear about your limits, it becomes much easier to communicate them effectively. Imagine your partner or a friend frequently interrupts your personal time by demanding your attention. Instead of silently putting aside what you're doing, try addressing it directly but kindly. I really value our time together, but I also need some uninterrupted time to focus on my work. Let's set aside some time later to talk. This approach sets a boundary without creating unnecessary conflict. Another important aspect of boundary setting is consistency. If you establish a boundary but don't enforce it, people won't take it seriously. For instance, if you tell someone that you need time for yourself but consistently drop everything whenever they reach out, your words lose their weight. Actions matter more than declarations. It's also crucial to let go of the fear that setting boundaries will push people away. Healthy relationships thrive on mutual respect, and anyone who truly values you will appreciate your honesty and self-respect. In fact, boundaries often strengthen relationships by creating a dynamic of trust and understanding. Now, I understand that confrontation can feel uncomfortable. It's something most of us try to avoid. But remember, avoiding conflict doesn't mean avoiding discomfort. When you fail to address boundary issues, the discomfort doesn't go away. It simply shifts inward, manifesting as stress, resentment, or dissatisfaction. Stoicism teaches us to embrace discomfort when it serves a higher purpose, such as maintaining our integrity or protecting our peace of mind. Start small. Practice setting boundaries in low-stakes situations, like declining a casual invitation when you need time for yourself. As you build confidence, you'll find it easier to assert yourself in more challenging circumstances. Over time, these small actions will help you reclaim your time, energy, and self-respect. Remember, boundaries aren't walls, they're guidelines. They don't shut people out. They show them how to engage with you in a way that's respectful and meaningful. And when you model self-respect through your boundaries, others will follow suit, creating a healthier dynamic for everyone involved. Setting boundaries is key, But let's discuss another mistake that can undermine respect. Mistake number 5, dishonesty or inauthenticity. Imagine meeting someone and pretending to like all the same things they do just to make them happy. Maybe you say you love a certain band or enjoy a particular hobby when deep down you couldn't care less. It might seem harmless at first. You just want to make a good impression, right? But over time, this kind of dishonesty chips away at something far more important than first impressions: trust. Dishonesty, whether it's big or small, creates cracks in the foundation of any relationship. Pretending to be someone you're not may work in the short term, but it's exhausting to maintain and impossible to sustain. Eventually, the truth comes out, and when it does, it leaves the other person questioning everything they thought they knew about you. Respect thrives on authenticity, and when that authenticity is missing, trust, and by extension respect, begins to crumble. Let's think about this from a Stoic perspective. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." In other words, don't spend your energy trying to project an image of who you think others want you to be. Instead, focus on being true to yourself. Authenticity isn't just about honesty with others, it's about honesty with yourself. So why do people fall into the trap of inauthenticity? Often, it comes from a place of insecurity. You might worry that the real you isn't good enough, so you put on a mask, hoping it will make you more likable or impressive. But here's the irony. People are far more drawn to genuine imperfection than polished falsehoods. When you're authentic, you invite others to connect with the real you. And that connection is where respect begins. Let's break this down with an example. Say you're in a new relationship and your partner is passionate about hiking. You don't enjoy it at all, but instead of being honest, you go along with it, pretending you're into it too. At first, they might appreciate your willingness to share their interest, but eventually they'll sense something is off. When the truth finally comes out, that you've been faking your enthusiasm, it can feel like a betrayal. Why? Because dishonesty undermines trust, even when it's done with good intentions. Living authentically doesn't mean you have to bear every single thought or detail about yourself. It means aligning your actions with your values and being truthful about who you are. This alignment creates a sense of consistency and reliability, which is the foundation of respect. People respect those who know themselves and stand firmly in their truth. To embrace authenticity, start by letting go of the need to please everyone. Not everyone will like the real you, and that's okay. The goal isn't universal approval, it's building genuine connections with those who value you for who you truly are. Another Stoic practice that can help is self-reflection. Take time each day to ask yourself, am I living in alignment with my values? Are my actions reflecting my true self? When you identify areas where you've been less than authentic, don't beat yourself up. Use it as an opportunity to course correct and move closer to the person you want to be. Being honest doesn't mean you'll never make mistakes. What matters is how you handle those moments. When you mess up, own it. Apologize sincerely, learn from the experience and move forward. Authenticity isn't about being perfect. It's about being real, even when it's uncomfortable. When you live truthfully, you also free yourself from the exhausting effort of maintaining a facade. Instead of worrying about whether you're saying the right thing or acting the right way, you can simply be. This kind of freedom is not only liberating for you, but it's also deeply attractive to others. It shows confidence, self-respect, and integrity, qualities that naturally earn respect from those around you. So the next time you're tempted to present yourself as something you're not, pause and remember. Trust and respect are built on authenticity, not appearances. When you embrace who you are, you open the door to genuine connections, where respect can truly flourish. Setting aside inauthenticity is vital, but there's another mistake we need to address: one that involves avoiding difficult but necessary conversations. Let's explore that next. Mistake number 6, avoiding conflict. Think about a time when you felt upset about something, but instead of addressing it, you stayed silent. Maybe you brushed it off, told yourself it wasn't worth the argument, or worried about how the other person would react. At first, it might seem like the easier choice. After all, who really likes confrontation? But here's the problem. Avoiding conflict doesn't make it disappear. Instead, it pushes unresolved issues deeper beneath the surface, where they quietly fester and grow. When you avoid addressing problems, resentment can build. Over time, the relationship starts to feel unbalanced, like there's an unspoken tension hanging in the air. What began as a minor issue transforms into a larger one, not because of the problem itself, but because it was never dealt with. Avoiding conflict may feel like you're keeping the peace, but in reality, it erodes trust and respect. Let's break this down. Respect comes from honesty, openness, and the ability to handle challenges together. When you sidestep difficult conversations, it sends a message that you're unwilling or unable to confront uncomfortable truths. This can make others feel like you're not fully invested in the relationship, or that you're more interested in avoiding discomfort than finding solutions. Now, let's be clear. Addressing conflict doesn't mean picking fights or creating drama. There's a big difference between constructive conflict and destructive arguments. Constructive conflict is about seeking solutions, not assigning blame. It's about creating a space where both people feel heard, respected, and understood. When handled well, conflict can actually deepen trust and strengthen a relationship. Stoicism offers valuable guidance here. One of the key principles of Stoicism is learning to approach challenges with reason and composure. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This wisdom is crucial when dealing with conflict. Instead of letting emotions dictate your response, take a step back and approach the situation with calm and clarity. When faced with a disagreement, the first step is to pause and assess your emotions. Are you feeling angry, defensive, or hurt? Acknowledge those feelings, but don't let them control your actions. Take a deep breath and give yourself a moment to regain your balance. This small pause can make the difference between reacting impulsively and responding thoughtfully. Once you're calm, approach the conversation with curiosity rather than judgment. Instead of assuming bad intentions, ask questions to understand the other person's perspective. For example, if your partner forgets something important to you, instead of saying, "You never care about what I want," try asking, "Can we talk about what happened? I felt a little hurt when this was overlooked." This approach invites dialogue rather than defensiveness. Another important aspect of addressing conflict is to focus on the issue, not the person. Avoid using absolute terms like always or never, which can make the other person feel attacked. Stick to specific behaviors or situations and frame the conversation around finding a solution together. Remember, the goal isn't to win the argument, it's to strengthen the relationship. Conflict isn't a competition, it's an opportunity to grow. By showing that you're willing to engage in difficult conversations respectfully and rationally, you demonstrate strength, maturity, and commitment. These qualities naturally earn respect. It's also worth noting that conflict doesn't have to be resolved immediately. Sometimes, the best thing you can do is agree to take a break and revisit the conversation later. This gives both parties time to reflect and come back with a clearer perspective. The Stoics emphasize the importance of patience, and this can be incredibly helpful when navigating conflict. If you've been avoiding conflict in your relationships, don't be hard on yourself. It's a natural response to want to keep things smooth, but it's important to recognize that discomfort is often a necessary step toward resolution. Start small. Address minor issues first to build your confidence. Over time, you'll find that facing conflict head-on isn't as daunting as it seems, and the benefits far outweigh the temporary discomfort. Now that we've addressed conflict, let's move on to another mistake that can harm your relationships. Mistake number 7, over-prioritizing physical attraction. Have you ever found yourself drawn to someone almost entirely because of their looks? It's natural. Physical attraction can be powerful and immediate. Maybe their smile caught your attention, or they seemed like they stepped out of a dream. But here's the thing, when looks become the primary focus of a relationship, they overshadow what truly matters. And while physical attraction might spark a connection, it's never enough to sustain one. Focusing too much on appearances can create a shallow foundation for a relationship. It places value on something that's temporary and ever-changing. Over time, looks fade, and what's left is the person's character, their values, their kindness, their ability to connect on a deeper level. When you prioritize physical attraction above all else, you risk missing out on the qualities that truly build respect and intimacy. Imagine being in a relationship where everything feels surface level. Conversations lack depth, shared experiences feel hollow, and there's no sense of growth or understanding. That's what happens when attraction is based only on appearances. The connection remains fragile because it's built on something that doesn't touch the core of who a person is. Stoicism offers a valuable perspective here. The Stoics believed that true value lies not in external appearances, but in internal qualities: character, wisdom, and integrity. Epictetus reminds us, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This applies not just to challenges, but to how we perceive others. Focusing on the superficial prevents us from seeing the true essence of a person, their strength, their resilience, and their values. Let's break this down. When you prioritize deeper qualities over looks, you cultivate a connection rooted in mutual respect and understanding. Think about it. How often do you admire someone simply for their appearance? True admiration comes from witnessing someone's character, their kindness, their ability to handle life's challenges with grace. These are the traits that build lasting respect. Now, this doesn't mean physical attraction isn't important. It plays a role, but it shouldn't be the only factor driving your interest in someone. A balanced approach allows for appreciation of physical beauty while prioritizing qualities that bring depth and longevity to the relationship. Consider this. Instead of focusing on how someone looks, pay attention to how they make you feel. Do they inspire you? Challenge you? Do they bring out the best in you? These are the things that create a strong and meaningful bond. Think about. Say you're dating someone who's incredibly attractive, but they don't share your values or interests. The connection might feel exciting at first, but over time, the lack of compatibility will create frustration and distance. On the other hand, someone who shares your values, supports your growth, and connects with you on a deeper level will create a relationship that stands the test of time. The Stoics remind us to look beyond the surface in all aspects of life, including relationships. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." This quote emphasizes the importance of what lies within, the way a person thinks, acts, and contributes to the world. These are the things that shape their essence, far beyond what's visible on the outside. When you shift your focus from physical appearance to inner qualities, something amazing happens. You start to attract people who value the same things you do. You build connections based on authenticity, respect, and shared purpose. And you become more confident in your own worth, knowing that it's rooted in who you are, not just how you look. If you've ever caught yourself over-prioritizing physical attraction, it's okay. It's a common mistake. The key is to recognize it and shift your perspective. Start by asking yourself, what do I truly value in a partner? What qualities inspire me, and make me feel respected. When you focus on these deeper traits, you'll find that relationships become more fulfilling and meaningful. At the end of the day, physical beauty is fleeting, but character, wisdom, and integrity are timeless. These are the qualities that create respect and connection, the kind that lasts far beyond the surface. Mistake number 8, failing to take responsibility. Have you ever been in a situation where something went wrong, and instead of owning up to it, you found yourself pointing fingers or making excuses? Maybe you blamed bad timing, circumstances, or even someone else to avoid feeling at fault. While it might seem like a quick way to sidestep discomfort, failing to take responsibility is one of the most damaging habits in any relationship. When you avoid accountability, you create a dynamic where trust begins to erode. Relationships thrive on mutual respect, and respect comes from reliability and integrity. If you consistently shift blame or refuse to acknowledge your mistakes, it sends a clear message. You're unwilling to grow or learn, and over time, this can lead to frustration and resentment from the people around you. Blame shifting also puts unnecessary pressure on your partner or loved ones. Imagine a scenario where plans fall apart because of a mistake you made, but instead of admitting it, you blame your partner for not being clear or prepared enough. While it might deflect the spotlight temporarily, it leaves the other person feeling misunderstood, unsupported, and disrespected. The truth is, we all make mistakes. It's part of being human. What defines us isn't the mistake itself, but how we handle it afterward. Owning your actions, even when it's uncomfortable, shows strength, self-awareness, and a willingness to grow. These are the qualities that foster respect, not just in others, but also within yourself. Stoicism offers timeless wisdom when it comes to taking responsibility. Epictetus said, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but the judgments we make about them." This reminds us that our reactions and choices, not external circumstances, determine the outcome. Taking responsibility means accepting that you have the power to control your actions, no matter what's happening around you. Let's look at a practical example. Suppose you forget an important anniversary or commitment. Instead of saying, "Well, you didn't remind me," try acknowledging the oversight and expressing regret. Something as simple as, "I'm sorry, I should have been more mindful," can completely change how the other person feels. It shows that you value the relationship enough to admit your mistake and take steps to improve. Taking responsibility doesn't just repair trust, it strengthens it. When you own up to your actions, you demonstrate accountability and reliability, which naturally commands respect. It shows that you're willing to put in the effort to grow, learn, and make things right. So, how can you cultivate this habit of accountability? Start by practicing self-reflection. At the end of each day, take a few moments to think about your interactions. Did you handle a situation poorly? Did you avoid addressing an issue that needed your attention? By recognizing these moments, you give yourself the opportunity to course correct and approach similar situations more responsibly in the future. Another powerful Stoic practice is to focus on what's within your control. When things go wrong, it's easy to blame external factors, but ultimately, your actions and choices are always within your power. By shifting your mindset from, "Why did this happen to me?" to, "What can I do to improve this?" you take ownership of the situation and begin to create positive change. Owning responsibility also means letting go of perfectionism. No one gets it right all the time, and that's okay. What matters is your willingness to learn from your mistakes and take steps to prevent them in the future. This mindset not only helps you grow, but also builds trust and respect in your relationships. When you take responsibility, you also empower others to do the same. It sets an example of maturity and integrity, creating a ripple effect that strengthens the dynamic between you and those around you. People are far more likely to respect and support someone who admits when they're wrong and takes steps to make things right. If you've struggled with taking responsibility in the past, don't be too hard on yourself. The fact that you're reflecting on this now is already a step toward growth. Start small, own up to a minor mistake today, and observe how it shifts the interaction. Over time, you'll find that accountability becomes second nature, and the respect you earn from others will only deepen. Failing to take responsibility might seem like a way to avoid discomfort, but it creates far greater issues in the long run. The courage to own your actions isn't just a path to stronger relationships, it's a path to self-respect. Let's move on to another common mistake, one that often keeps people stuck in the past rather than building for the future. Mistake number 9, neglecting personal growth. Imagine being in a relationship where nothing seems to change. Conversations feel repetitive, goals remain unspoken, and personal progress feels like a distant memory. At first, the routine might feel comforting, but over time, complacency can creep in. Neglecting personal growth isn't just about staying stagnant, it's about losing the drive to be better, both for yourself and for those around you. When you stop challenging yourself to grow, you inadvertently send a message that you're comfortable with mediocrity. This can weaken respect in a relationship, as it removes the sense of admiration and inspiration that personal ambition brings. Relationships thrive on growth. When one or both people stop evolving, the dynamic becomes stale, leaving little room for respect to flourish. Think about it. Would you admire someone who has no goals, no curiosity, and no desire to improve? It's not about achieving perfection. It's about showing a commitment to becoming a better version of yourself every day. Complacency doesn't just affect you, it affects the energy you bring to your relationships. The Stoics believed that growth was an essential part of a fulfilling life. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This reminds us that challenges and obstacles aren't barriers, they're opportunities to learn, adapt, and grow. Growth comes from taking on what's difficult, not avoiding it. Neglecting personal growth can show up in many ways. Maybe you've stopped pursuing hobbies you once loved, or you've let your health, career, or intellectual interests take a back seat. Over time, this can lead to feelings of dissatisfaction and frustration, not just within yourself, but in those closest to you. Personal stagnation can make a relationship feel one-sided, where one person is always doing the work to inspire or push things forward. So how can you avoid falling into this trap? It starts with setting clear, actionable goals. Personal growth doesn't mean you have to achieve monumental changes overnight. It's about small, consistent steps that lead to progress over time. Ask yourself, what's one thing I can do today to be better than I was yesterday? It could be as simple as reading a chapter of a book, learning a new skill, or taking time to reflect on your actions. Another key aspect of personal growth is embracing discomfort. Growth isn't always easy. It often requires stepping out of your comfort zone and facing challenges head-on. But as Marcus Aurelius reminds us, obstacles aren't there to stop you. They're there to help you grow stronger. The very things you're avoiding might be the catalysts for your greatest personal transformation. Let's take an example. Imagine you've always wanted to learn a new language, but never made the effort to start. Each day you put it off feels harmless in the moment, but over time, the missed opportunity adds up. Now imagine taking just 10 minutes a day to practice. Over a year, those small efforts accumulate into meaningful progress. This principle applies to every area of your life, whether it's your health, relationships, or career. Consistent action leads to growth. When you prioritize your personal development, you also inspire those around you. Growth is contagious. When your partner or friends see you striving to improve, it often motivates them to do the same. This creates a dynamic of mutual respect, where both people feel encouraged to be their best selves. On the other hand, neglecting growth can create a sense of imbalance. If one person is constantly pushing forward while the other remains stagnant, it can lead to feelings of resentment or frustration. Respect flourishes when both individuals are actively working toward their goals and supporting each other's progress. It's also important to remember that personal growth isn't just about achievement. It's about becoming more self-aware, more compassionate, and more intentional in how you live your life. Journaling, meditating, or simply reflecting on your values can be powerful tools for personal development. Growth is as much about internal progress as it is about external accomplishments. If you've been neglecting your own growth, don't be discouraged. It's never too late to start. Begin with one small change today. Focus on one area of your life where you'd like to improve and take that first step. Over time, you'll find that each step builds momentum, and the journey itself becomes a source of pride and fulfillment. When you commit to growth, you're not just bettering yourself, you're showing the people in your life that you value the relationship enough to bring your best self to it. That kind of dedication naturally commands respect and admiration. Neglecting personal growth might feel comfortable in the short term, but it's a mistake that costs more in the long run. Growth isn't just about achieving goals, it's about evolving into the person you're capable of being. Let's move on to the final takeaway, one that ties everything together and leaves you with a powerful thought to carry forward. We've just explored 9 common mistakes that can quietly erode respect in relationships. Being too needy, lacking purpose, emotional reactivity, failing to set boundaries, dishonesty or inauthenticity, avoiding conflict, over-prioritizing physical attraction, failing to take responsibility, and neglecting personal growth. Each of these habits, while easy to fall into, has a profound impact on how you're perceived and how you connect with others. What ties all of these lessons together is the wisdom of Stoicism. Respect, at its core, comes from strength of character, strength in values, and strength in how you handle life's challenges. The Stoics remind us that we can't always control what happens around us, but we can control our actions, our mindset, and our ability to grow. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And that strength is what earns respect, both from others and from yourself. Take a moment to reflect on what we've discussed. Which mistake resonated with you the most? Maybe it's something you've experienced personally, or perhaps it's a habit you've seen in others. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. As you think about these mistakes, remember, this isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Every small step you take to improve, every effort you make to learn from these lessons, brings you closer to being the person you want to be, the person who commands respect naturally. Before you go, don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful. It's a small action, but it helps us share this message with others who need it. And if you're not already part of this community, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss another video on Stoicism, personal growth, and building stronger relationships. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Remember, respect begins with how you see yourself and the choices you make. You have the power to grow, to improve, and to create relationships rooted in trust, admiration, and mutual respect. Until next time, stay strong and stay true to yourself.